G'day and welcome back to The Brink, everybody.
Before we begin, feel free to like, share, subscribe and follow
Why do they have to do that?
because it helps us.
I've never actually liked, shared, and subscribed to anything, to be honest.
Anyway, guys, thanks for your support and more importantly, enjoy the episode.
You ready?
Oh, good.
Layla!
Yeah,
She's cute.
nice
Okay,
virtually
okay.
It's like herding a cat.
Could you move your leg, please, Davey?
Yeah.
Hello, how are you?
I'm
Nice
good.
to
How
meet
are
you.
Nice to
Really
virtually
good.
meet you too.
Yeah, really good, really good. How's your... Geez, this is going to be we were just saying the other day that we've sort of jumped around. We're going from the people that we've interviewed or that we've done a podcast with have been so varied and extreme, right? It's been so interesting.
Yeah, 100%.
Like last week we did, this guy that was a real shocker that was, been sexually violated as a boy for 3 or 4 years from 9 to 13. It was really emotional. And then now we're into an area that that we're all into really. Well,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
This is the world, isn't it? We're all so varied and we have different experiences in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So we're just going to get straight into it. I like
There's
this
a bit of
immediately.
pressure on me today, Layla, because Matthew has been with HR has laid some complaints saying my intros are too long. So I hope.
Well, no, but it's just after a while you start doing these ones, and
I'm feel free to write it yourself.
but
Feel
no,
free to
but he's
yourself,
really
Matthew,
good
but
at it.
That would involve
I've just
effort. So
it's
God
good.
forbid.
Start at the top.
Once immersed in the structure of corporate life, Layla Kelly made a bold leap into the world of adult entertainment. Layla is passionate about reframing how men think about sex, performance anxiety, the unrealistic nature of commercial porn, and her mission to promote confidence and self-acceptance in the bedroom. We'll discuss her transition from corporate life, the stigma she faces, how she navigates family, motherhood, and relationships, and her mission to create content that reflects real, emotionally grounded sex while making a whole lot of bank. Welcome, Layla. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel really privileged to be on you guys' podcast.
Well, we do too, and
yeah.
you're the one who reached out to us, which is, to be fair, how we learned about you. And that was a pretty cool thing for us that people are now starting to come to us and wanting to share their stories with us. And yours is a really fascinating one.
Not
Yeah.
can I just jump in there? That's unbelievable. What that intro was really good because that really tweaked my interest. Just the
Awesome.
things, all those things that David said in that thing. Is that actually her mission?
Well, we're going to find out.
That's your mission because that's
Yeah.
cool because I think we're all a little bit I'm embarrassed. No, you start.
No, say what you were going to say.
No, but what was there? There was something in there about because in porn, not that I watch a lot of porn. We've obviously seen porn, and I don't have a porn addiction by any stretch of the imagination. I think the last time that I looked at porn in any sense of the imagination, on a daily
really
basis,
awkward,
was
isn't
when I
it?
was a teenager, and I was
Really?
whipping. Yeah, and I was whipping through Penthouse. In my day, it was Penthouse.
Yeah.
We didn't have any of that
Yeah.
stuff,
All the
and it was
magazines,
awkward.
couch-
Yeah, but it was real awkward because pages that get stuck and all that shit. Hey, as you do.
Things
It
are
was
much
pretty
simpler
close.
these days, aren't they?
Yeah, much simpler. But that was my introduction to porn, I guess, and I sort of left it there. I've never really, but I've always been I'd like to think quite prudish in the bedroom. Which is, probably not what people would think of me, but, I'm fairly reserved and, I guess I'm pretty, I'm not really selling myself here for
Well,
for
and
a
as
bird,
much as
am I?
I'd love
Fuck.
to talk about you in the bedroom, Matthew, we're actually here to talk about Layla.
No, but she's
if
going to,
you know what you like, you know what you like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
Thank you, David. Thank you very much, mate.
well, I mean, I don't think we need a full rundown on that. We can get to that later, but I'd like to hear a bit more about Layla's journey and the transition you made from what was originally a corporate career run of the mill, day to day normal life.
Nice,
So he's
yeah,
angry,
nice.
isn't he?
No, I'm not angry. No, that's perfect.
not
No.
angry.
I'm glad you pulled it
So
back.
what you're doing now, why you did it, how it came about, and
Yeah.
what's been involved.
Sure.
Exactly.
Well, I was working for a bank. I had been working there for about 7 years, and I got pregnant, had a child, and I decided I really did not want to go back to the 9 to 5 mundane job that I was doing. When COVID hit, so this was just after COVID, everything in my role changed. I used to have this really connected role for community where I was doing something that really fulfilled me. And I got a lot of satisfaction out of working with the community. But after COVID, the role changed a lot, and there was not as much face-to-face. It became more data entry, sort of taking online applications and entering just that data online, not really meeting people face-to-face and having that interaction. And for me, that just stunted my fire, It really didn't fuel the fire for me. So I had my baby, and I thought, well, what's another way that I can support myself and my family and be able to be at home, spend more time with my family, have a better work-life balance. And my goal was just to make $300 a week. I was like, if I make $300 a week, which was covering a certain bill that I had at the time, then I would feel okay about staying home because I feel like I'm still providing, helping out in some way, shape or form. But it ended up surpassing that so much so that now my husband and I do this full time together, and he doesn't have a normal 9 to 5.
Okay. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Of course.
So were you married? You were married with your husband at that particular stage that you're working in the bank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and then you
my
came.
my husband and I have been together since I was 16, and I'm 34 now.
Wow, that's amazing, right? So I'm just going to jump straight. Am I allowed to keep going?
Yeah.
You didn't ask me. You've never done this before.
Yeah, well, you've never fucking told me off live on camera. Anyway, so you've been with your husband for what's that? That's 18 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've obviously got an amazing relationship because I take it, you got your kid off, and you were doing the things on, on the internet and stuff. Is that it? Is that how you started getting your first 300?
No, so I didn't start until after I was a mum because, I'd gone through my maternity leave and I didn't want to go back to the bank. So I thought, well, how can I support the family a little bit, stay home? And I was already feeling pretty comfortable with my body and pretty comfortable with myself sexually. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give this a go. I just, want to cover that small bill a week and we'll see how it goes. But it's just growing from there.
When you say give it a go, what was that first foray
That's
into?
it.
Like, what were you doing to hit that $300 mark? Like,
Yeah.
OnlyFans?
I created an OnlyFans and
Do you know
I
what
created
OnlyFans
a
is?
social media account and I shared the link and I started making reels and posting photos on social media and it sort of grew from there.
So taking your clothes off, or was that it? Is that
Yeah.
is that we? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So that
posting
must have
loads
been
and-
for you and your husband. Like that was that a like an awkward conversation, or did you come up with that together, or was it something that you'd always wanted to do, or it
Well,
just
there was a lot of hype around OnlyFans, especially during lockdown and COVID. So, OnlyFans was like booming big time during that time. Obviously, everyone was locked at home and they had nothing to do. So they're all sitting on their phones and, lots of people were making a lot of money on OnlyFans at that time. And it was actually my husband who said to me, hey, have you thought, I know you don't want to go back to work. Have you thought about doing something like this? Because he knew that I'm quite comfortable with my body. And it did take me a little while to think about it. I didn't start it that year. It was probably a year after. So I just thought about it, is this something that I want to do? Because I know that once something's out there, it's out there forever. So it's not a decision you should ever make lightly. You should think it through, like through and through. Think of all the things that could happen that you're afraid of, because once it is there, it's out there forever. So it did take me maybe about a year to make that decision. But yeah, it was kind of, grew from there.
And what sort of things were you afraid of? Like, and what did you talk about? Like, I mean, it must have been quite a difficult. Well, I guess he brought it up first, so he must have been okay with it from the get go.
Yeah. And I mean, there's stages to it, There's stages where maybe the first stage is just sharing some nude pictures of yourself, and that is a step outside of what you're normally comfortable with, right? Like it's a step into the unknown, really. And then you might start making solo videos with yourself. Then from there, I started making videos with other women, and then I started making videos with men. So it's been a gradual sort of process. It hasn't happened all at once. I definitely haven't jumped into the deep end all at once, but it was like step by step, understanding what we're comfortable with, having conversations around our boundaries and, you know, what we feel comfortable with and what we don't feel comfortable with. And yeah, it sort of evolved from there.
Wow. It's a boomer.
On a financial sense, at what point did you realize, okay, this is going to be more rewarding than I thought? I'm going to be making a lot more than $300 and I'm going to commit to this as a full-time career path.
Yeah, so the first month, I think I made $1,200, $1,200 USD, which was already blew my $300 New Zealand out the water. So I was like, wow, okay, this has already exceeded my expectations on the first month. And then the second month was much the same as the first. It didn't have as much growth because I think in the first month, people are like, oh my God, who is it? I want to know who this person, you know, what you look like without clothes on, right? And then don't have as much growth in the second month. But then I think as my social media started to grow, obviously I started to pick up more subscribers. And then I also had a really amazing collaboration, I think about 6 months into my journey with another couple girls who were doing really amazing. So that did sort of catapult me and put the gas on my journey, which was really helpful.
Okay, so, right. Do you mind if we get personal? Like, you know, like.
Oh, go for it. Ask anything you want. I'm not going to be offended.
Because, like, it's a big thing to, you know, obviously to share your body and all that sort of stuff. But it's a big thing as a couple to go into this. So is your husband, does he perform as well? Or? Yeah,
so it's my platform that's focused on me, but we do make tapes together.
Like sexual tapes?
Yeah, we make sex tapes together.
Okay.
What do the conversations look like?
I'm so awkward. Let's just.
I don't find this awkward.
No,
but
Don't be awkward. Ask all the questions.
Yeah.
The conversations around setting boundaries. What did they look like? Have they changed? And how do you manage to stay within that and keep the marriage secure?
Yeah. So that
is good question.
Really good question. And I think that it is quite hard for people who aren't in this industry or who have never experienced any part of this industry to understand how you can compartmentalize sex in different ways, because the sex that I have with my husband is very emotionally and mentally connected. Whereas when I'm making tapes with other people, you know, the physical is there, but the emotional side and that kind of connection is not necessarily there. So I can compartmentalize, you know, pleasure I have with my husband, and completely different to having sex with a random person on camera for money.
It's so interesting. Do you think it takes a certain sort of personality type or mindset to be able to do that in a healthy way? Because you hear a lot of discourse, or you have historically, like you hear stories about, you know, porn stars who have gone off the rails, and, you know, they often were like abused as children, or there's this perception of them being damaged human beings. That is not how you come across to me. What's your take on that?
Yeah, and I am very empathetic towards people who have been in situations like that, and there are sex workers who do this as a survivalist means, you know. They are doing this because it's their way of surviving. Maybe they can't hold down a full-time job because of their neurodivergent, or they've got trauma that they're dealing with. And I'm very blessed and lucky to have not suffered from any trauma as such in my life. And the decision for me to join sex work was purely because I think it's something fun to do. I want to support myself. I want to have better work-life balance. I want to have financial freedom in the fact that, you know, I'm not capped to a certain amount in a salary. You know, I have control over the fluctuations of my income to some extent, and, you know, being able to not have to work on public holidays and not being told to do certain things that I don't think are morally correct, you know. So yeah, I think there are different types of sex workers, and I just feel very blessed that I've only had good experiences.
So what about because it is a big jump. And like, what about your family, your like your mum, your dad, you know, your friends? How would they, when you know, I guess you would have had to, how did they find out? Or did you go and have that conversation with them? And, you know, because that's not an easy conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there were questions that were asked. You know, they are wondering how all of a sudden we're supporting ourselves, but we're home all the time, and how we've managed to afford certain things in our life when it doesn't look like we have a stable 9-to-5 job. But I've been pretty open and honest with them, and they have. Every single one of my family members that I've spoken to has been 100% supportive.
Well,
I don't know about
fantastic.
maybe the wider family, and of course they have asked questions like, "Are you safe?" You know, how do you make sure that you're safe? They've asked me all heaps of different questions, and as they should, you know, because they care about me and they care about my family. And I think, you know, if they didn't care, then obviously they wouldn't ask those questions. But they have asked hard questions, and I have answered them honestly. And yeah, they know who I am as a person as well. So I think that really says a lot. I think people think sex workers, I don't know, they sometimes treat us like we're not real people. So, you know, your family do know you. They do know you really well, and my family have been amazingly supportive. And I'm lucky because not every family is like that.
There must be a certain point to which that you get to that you just can't contain it anymore. So people are going to find out. I mean, for those listening, it's important to note that like you've been voted or ranked. I don't know what the metric is or how they do it. As New Zealand's #1 porn star for the last 2 years running.
Yeah, voted. So it's an Australasian, it's Australia, New Zealand company that do awards for industry workers, and it ranges from escorts through to sex work companies, content creators, and all sorts, strippers and everything. And you get nominated, and then people vote on that. So for
so
2 years.
You've exploded in a very short amount of time. So congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and that has come with some controversies, but you know, in this industry, controversies can, you know, you get view. It helps you get views, and you use equal money in this industry.
Dealing with family's perception and understanding, I guess, is one thing. But what about when you get a level of fame or notoriety? How does the overflow look like in terms of just normal day-to-day life? You've got kids. You go to school, you do the school run, the pickup, there are other parents. How transparent, how obviously do people react positively or negatively to you, or do they keep it?
Yeah, I've never had any negative reactions in regards to with my family. I've never had any negative reactions with my family, with me or without my family. Most New Zealanders, I feel like Kiwis are quite reserved. Though even when they see a famous person like Jason Momoa, they leave him to it. They don't mob them and go up and ask for autographs and stuff. And I think also when you are a porn star or a sex worker, people are a little bit extra, like they don't want to other people to know that they know who you are.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yes. So I often will get, this is a little bit creepy, I often get pictures of myself. So they have seen me at the local mall or the supermarket and they've taken a photo of me, and then they'll send it to me on my site and say, hey, I saw you today. And sometimes I think to myself, oh, you could have just said hello, because the picture is actually a little bit more creepy.
Yeah, I get you. Hey, with your how old are your children?
Oh, I don't want to say.
I didn't mention to you. So Layla and I did discuss this before. We with regards to talking about kids, which is totally understandable. We won't go into details of ages and just nothing, nothing identifiable, which is just
all right. Sweet,
good.
But like, okay. But how do you, like, obviously for your kids, if they're of age or understanding, how do you like that? It's quite a tough one to explain, and especially, with how children are at school, and if other kids find out, and,
100%.
so that's, how did you navigate that situation with your children? And
well, first of all, we're always going to be age appropriate. So, never at any point are we going to be sharing something that is not appropriate for the age of them. Okay.
Yes.
But also, we're never going to lie to them either. So they're never going to go to school and have somebody say something to them and then be completely blindsided and completely shocked. You know, they're always going to be in the know, age appropriately, and have information that they will be able to use to sort of protect themselves. But also bring them up to understand that this type of work, there's nothing wrong with this type of work. You know, we bring joy to people's lives. We are not out here hurting anybody, you know, and nobody is holding a gun to anybody's head to view our content.
Totally.
And I think, you know, the whole bullying thing, more focus needs to be put on like stopping bullying at the core and teaching our children that bullying is not right, than focusing on you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z because your children will get bullied. Because children get bullied for so many reasons. You cannot list all the reasons that children get bullied for, and bullying is absolutely horrendous and it shouldn't exist, and we should all be working against it. And the reason why children at school might know or have a preconceived idea about what they think I do is because the parents have been talking about it.
100%. So this is exactly the thing, right? So like, you know, like New Zealanders or worldwide, a lot of people are judgmental and look at, you know, like at this particular industry as, you know, sinful or whatever. Well, in fact, it's the oldest industry in the world, and you know, like pretty much everybody's used it if they're honest.
And that's the big thing that I say too. You know, like who can sit there and say they have never consumed the labour of a sex worker, whether that is online. You know, you're Googling, you're looking something up on the hub and it's free. You are consuming the labour of a sex worker. Have you ever been into a strip club? So who are you to sit there and point the finger and shame the person who's providing it when you are the reason why it exists?
Oh, no, exactly. Like I'm 100%. I'm 100%. But that's why we're as humans, we're very hypocritical. You know, like we don't want to reverse the mirror on ourselves and look, hey, this is, you know, well, you're consuming it. Like, but you know, a lot of people do poo-poo it, and you know, like because they're judgmental, because they're unhappy with their own lives, because they're, you know, they could be envious, jealous of the, you know, the reputation that you have, the money that you've, you know, obviously that comes with, you know, the success that you've had, which is amazing. You know, like all power to you. But there are a lot of downsides, well, so-called downsides that you have to navigate because of other people's opinions and judgments, which must be 100%. Hard to handle.
Yeah, and sometimes it is. And, you know, I face hate online every single day. So every single day that I look at my social media accounts, there are horrific comments or messages. But in the same way, there are also thousands of amazing supportive messages as well. And I have to remind myself daily that these people do not know who I am. And it's very easy to dehumanize someone across a screen. You know, nobody has ever stood in front of me and told me to myself. But that is very easy for somebody to do online behind a screen because, you know, they've dehumanized you. They would never say that to you in person.
No, I totally agree. And, you know, like but it is, you know, like we've said this many times before, like you have to put your shield up, right? And you've got your armor, and you know you get used to the vile things that people say, but it still hurts when you read that stuff. And you know if your kids are reading that stuff, or you know people that are close to you are reading that stuff, you know it's easy to say, oh, it's just a throwaway, it's just a throwaway. And I get that it says more about the people that are writing that because A, they've never met you, B, you know, they're judgmental, and you know, like, you know, what's that Christian saying? Thou shalt not throw a stone if thou hasn't thrown a stone, or something. I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like, it's like
let he without sin.
Let he without sin cast the first stone. So
that's the one.
So that's it, right? But it's just amazing how people sit there on their high horses and you know, like, throw rocks into your garden, like
100%.
You know. And it's just your life, and you're leading your life as the best you see fit. I take it that you spend a lot of time with your kids, which is amazing.
Heaps.
And you know, so you're not stuck in the rat race, and you get to do something that you clearly enjoy, and it does provide.
It's a service.
It's a service, and it's the oldest service in the world.
Well, we were this morning chatting. Matthew's like, why do they call it pornography? Where does the word pornography come from? It doesn't even make any sense. So I'd love to say I knew it off the top of my head, but ChatGPT told us that porno is a Greek word, which means like prostitute, I think. And then graphy is visual or to write about. So, I mean, that makes total sense. And it has been around forever. And all it's new is the medium of, cameras, the internet, you're able to purvey it in a different way.
Yeah. And, lots of people use the term you're selling yourself or you're selling your body. But, any labor job does exactly the same thing. I know tilers who their knees are wrecked. I know plumbers whose backs are fucked. Like, you know what I mean? So what if we're going to go down that road, then it's not just sex workers, okay? But the thing is, I go to bed at night with exactly the same amount of limbs I woke up with. So I'm not selling my body. I still have it.
Yeah, nice. That's a good point.
That's so nice. And if I may be crass, from a fiscal perspective, how much has that changed your life? Like you went from X dollars, working corporate to now. I don't know if you're happy to share that, but it is. Yeah. It's a big part of why you've done it.
My entire annual income that I earn at the bank, I earn that in 3 months now.
Yeah, see, so how good's that, right?
And I've been able to buy a house for my family, and so when I said I was working on my house earlier before we started recording, it's because I've just purchased it and now we're sort of doing it up. And that just would not have been possible for many years if, I wasn't doing the work that I'm doing. And I'm so thankful that I'm able to provide for my family like that.
It's amazing. Good on you, but I just think it's amazing that you like that. I guess you said it before, but it's tough to have those conversations. So when you're making, pornography, or do you do escorting or anything like that?
I have done full service work. Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question for you. Like, when you say that your relationship with your husband and when you make love to your husband, it's, it's emotional and all that sort of stuff. But are there times when you meet a guy or you meet a girl that that's paying to have, to have an intimate time with you, that that there's chemistry there, right? It's all very well to say that you can just you can cut that off and it's different to but is it really? When you have that physical connection with somebody, it doesn't have to be mental, but it's a physical connection. And if your other half were to see you in that situation, and that's the sort of thing that I think can tip a relationship. Do you know what I mean? And do you have conversations about, hey, do you know what I'm trying to say with that?
I mean, I have done full service work, but it's not like I've been doing that for years, and I've had hundreds and hundreds of clients. I've had a very small amount of clients in full service, but I have worked with many men making content for my OnlyFans. But what you are doing is you're providing a fantasy. I'm never giving these people the true me.
Right.
So when I turn up, I'm not turning up as my true self. I'm turning up as, what they are wanting from me. But we've already had conversations prior to what they like,
Okay. I'm
turning up as a fantasy. This is part of a fantasy for them. And it is fun sometimes. Oh my gosh, yes, I have so much fun. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I could be good mates with this guy. I get on really well with him. It's so easy, it's breezy, and you're enjoying it. You're enjoying your time with them. But they're not. My walls are never down enough for me for that to happen, because that's not the true me,
Yeah, that's good. That's nice. That's a good way to explain it. So I guess you and your husband, it's a never ending conversation where you're talking openly, honestly. Yeah. Because if you're not honest, then 100%. Everything's going to implode, right? So
and a big part of that too is that people say you need to know your boundaries and you need to talk about them prior to doing anything. Yes, absolutely, 100%. But it's actually equally as important to have that conversation afterwards, because sometimes you don't know how you're going to feel until something's already happened. Because you're thinking about it. Oh, how am I going to feel if this thing happens? But it's not happened yet. So you don't truly know how
Yeah.
you're going to feel usually until afterwards. And if something happens and then afterwards you go, actually, I don't know about that, I'm feeling a little bit strange about that, then it's a good opportunity to open up some conversation about it and maybe change how you do it going forward.
Yeah, because there would be times when, like, surely that that your ego, or that where you see your husband having sex with somebody else, or he sees you having sex with somebody else, and you get that shit, I've never seen that look in her eye before, or like there's all those things, and I know it's that it's all our insecurities, but it's our insecurities that lead us down that slippery slope to implode our relationship, like whether it be jealousy.
It's also just human nature, like
exactly.
take it way back. Men have competed for women to be, the top man for women, and I think actually that is where a lot of insecurities or performance anxiety comes in, because there is a lot of comparing. Men compare themselves to other men and porn. They see online and stuff, and so I think that it's a natural feeling. It's you take it way back. It's just part of human nature.
Well, it's like the obvious thing is like, oh, his is bigger than mine, right, or whatever. So you've got all that. You've got all that. That's the first thing, and the most obvious thing for guys. It's like, oh my god, well, how can I compete with that slugger? That happens a lot with me. Like the guys are like, how can I compete with him? Fuck me, dude. And I'm like, hey, there's no competition. I play my load real quick.
It's a myth that women want it.
We're just joking,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to us about that.
It's just a male created construct. Women have never asked to have massive penises. Like, I have never met a woman who said to me, yeah, I only want the biggest penis. And I don't know if you've heard of Girthmaster.
Yeah,
no.
I have.
What?
No, because I remember he did a big tour of New Zealand last year.
Is it a person? Is it a person, Girthmaster?
Yeah. Male porn star with a wine bottle-sized cock.
What?
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
As long as it's wide. Oh, that's just revolting.
Well, yeah, it's like wine bottle size. I can't remember the exact measurements, but I have made content with him, so I can really say that big is not always better, guys.
Oh,
we
no. I mean, clearly. I didn't really want to go into the size of men's digits, but
I love how awkward Matthew was, because like he talks about sex all the time.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
And that's fucking bullshit.
In a very kind of like
take that back,
jokey, blokey sort
of
way.
No, I don't. You're making me out to sound like some sort of thuggish rogue.
Well, you're proving yourself not to be, so just as well. But it's how men engage with each other. It's there's a lot.
No. You talk for yourself. No, but like getting back to the you were talking about how you like it to be not secretive. You said something in the intro that was really good.
Transparent?
Yeah, no, transparent and more the myth. What did you say? It was. And I wanted to ask you a question about that.
Like authentic or?
Yeah. Can you read it?
Because
I can't see that.
Okay.
Discuss the temptation of a couple.
Well, what Layla wanted to talk to us about was a problem that you're seeing with men who
performance anxiety.
Performance anxiety.
Yeah. Well, so
performance anxiety.
Yeah. How this came about was that when I started making my porn, I was making porn with other male creators.
Yes.
But one thing that I would always get feedback on is that, oh wow, that guy's so much bigger than I am, or that guy can last so much longer than I can. And so there was a lot of feedback from my fans saying like, oh, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could be like that. And I thought, well, that's really sad. Like this, porn that you're creating in a commercial kind of way is staged. It's not real life, guys. It's a fantasy, and we're creating this fantasy on camera for you. But and I haven't worked with guys who are using enhancements really, but the proper commercial porn, they're all using enhancements. Often they will film the finish first, and then they will take some enhancements, and then they will film all the different positions. So it's unrealistic to be comparing yourself to videos that you see made with, creators and porn stars and stuff. So I thought, well,
Gotcha.
I'm going to take my tour around New Zealand and give everyday blokes an opportunity to make a movie with me. And in turn, I'm going to be providing, content to my fans that is a little bit more realistic and a little bit more like them, So I have some videos where guys don't finish. I have some videos where guys can't get hard. I have also some amazing videos of some amazing times because, everything just sort of happened. But
Yeah, that's what I'm
also
saying. So that you have that connection with that person, that physical connection where, like he gets excited, you get excited and bang, right? But there must be so many times when you don't have that, and how awkward is that when you're making...
Well,
That's
the
what
whole
Layla's
thing.
trying to
We're
say.
trying
It
to make-
shouldn't be awkward.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
normal.
It shouldn't be awkward because
Yeah.
even if this is the first time meeting someone, or if you're in a marriage and you've fucked this person thousands and thousands of times, performance anxiety can happen. It
Yes.
is, it is completely normal. And sometimes what that means is taking a break and going and get some fresh air, taking a
Yeah.
break and having a glass of water. Men are putting so much pressure on themselves to perform like how they've seen in these movies, but it's an unrealistic expectation. And just to take a step back, hey, it's all good. Let's just chill for a bit.
Yeah, oh, no, I totally agree. Like I don't know. Like, to be fair, I don't know how guys can do that. Like can actually like make a porn movie and that, because I'd be fucking hopeless. I'd be the worst. Like, it's not that I've got the. We don't need to go there, but I'd be absolutely hopeless, because for me it's all about that connection. I have to really connect with a person on a physical level and probably a mental level in order for me to get like anywhere near wanting to have sex. Do you know what I mean? And that's happened as I've got older, I guess. So I don't know.
Yeah, and for some of these guys, they've seen me online and they've seen me on Pornhub and they've subscribed to my sites and they just want to fuck me. So it's like it's a bucket list thing, it's a fantasy that they want to take off.
What really interests me, and it's kind of concerning, right, Layla, is that you think we're a different generation to you, right? So we grew up, as Matthew mentioned, so artfully,
eloquently. Yeah, well,
eloquently.
let's just say it. So we grew up
magazines.
We grew up with magazines, right?
Right,
So,
but we didn't really probably have access to them till like you steal one from your dad if he had one, or however you get them.
Mate.
You're 12, 13, 14,
Yeah,
15.
yeah.
It's your hormones.
There was no stealing from Granddad. Granddad didn't have any trust.
So and there probably wasn't anything too heavy or nothing too fetishy. It was probably quite vanilla, and
Totally.
There weren't. It was hard to get a VHS, and if you did, you got what you got. Nowadays, there are these kids who are presumably from a probably really young age, before they're even mature. They're accessing porn on a really regular, easy, basis, and able to see stuff that's more extreme. They can choose what they want. They can find exactly what they want. It might even lead them to other things. Like, how do you see that as a potential problem, or even a current problem?
Well, yes, the internet has made everything more accessible, not just porn, just everything in the world more accessible. And some of that is not appropriate for children. And so I think that does come back to how parents are monitoring their children's access to online websites and stuff, because there is a lot out there that is dangerous for children to be watching and consuming, and it's definitely not intended for children consumption. So I mean, OnlyFans, you have to have a debit card in order to be able to sign up to the site. So you need to be of a certain age, and you need to verify your age on there before you can even access the content. Pornhub, obviously, you just click a button to verify your age. But that's why I do think that it is really important that if you are a parent, you are monitoring your children's activity online, because there are many things that they could be accessing. Porn is obviously one, but there are many damaging things.
I guess I think, David, what you were trying to say is that, like, how unrealistic, and you kind of said it before, how unrealistic some of the porn or most of the porn is that you see. So young boys like teenagers or whatever, they're watching guys that seem to be going for ages, and they're, you know,
Yeah.
there's all, and then there's girls like moaning and groaning and, you know, doing all this.
Exactly.
And it, like, it's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's like, it's so, you know, it's not how it is.
Yeah,
Do you know
you're
what I mean?
100% correct. 100%. I agree with you 100% because that is creating unrealistic expectations. But, you know, we need to understand as consumers, all of us, that what you're seeing online is a fantasy being role played out. And a lot of this is not real life. And if you can understand that and still be able to enjoy it and consume it, and that kind of mindset, that's great. But there needs to be probably more education for younger people to understand that this is not necessarily real life.
And that's what probably leads to, like, a lot of kids, you know, especially boys and girls, because girls are there lying there thinking, shit, I've got to make this noise like I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm having the worst time of my life. But, you know, like, and she's like, oh, this guy's, he's obviously, like, he's the hottest guy in school, and, like, he's going to be the best lay, and, oh my God, he's shit. But, you know, like, it's just all this fake stuff that they see, that then they've got to go, oh, I've got to be like that, you know, like. Yeah. It must.
And there are a lot of pornos are centered around the male satisfaction.
Yeah.
Because it's just a fact that men, gay, bi, or straight, are the biggest consumers of porn. Women do consume porn, but they just do not consume it at the same way as men do.
Yeah.
We're a lot more visual, I think, aren't we? Us boys.
Yeah.
But women are visual as well. Like, aren't they? Surely they are.
I can't speak to that.
I think you'll find some women do enjoy watching porn, but even myself,
visual in your head. Are you like? I'm talking visual in my imagination.
Yeah. I'm probably more visual in my imagination, but even myself, like, I didn't watch porn until I started making porn.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I meant visual in the sense of you're stimulated by the visual. So men are aroused, I think, by seeing what's going on. Whereas, you know, and it's the act. Whereas I think maybe women are more about, like, the connection and the humanity of it. Is that
fair? Yeah, but I like, you know, like, I guess so. I don't know, but, like,
it's a pretty
put it this way. I've never watched a lot of porn other than when I was a kid. You know, like you know, with penthouses and stuff, and just sort of like you grew out of that. And I've just never been a porn dude.
Well,
I don't know. Like, oh no, good for you. Like that. No, I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. We're all different, right? It's like I've just never really. Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason.
You know, some people do go through life and, you know, it's just not something that they consume on a regular basis, and that's awesome for them. But then there are some people who, for whatever reason, you know, enjoy consuming porn. And, it's just I think it's dependent on the person, but that it's a fact that statistically men consume porn on a much higher level than women do. So I think that's why we see a lot of pornos that are quite centered around the male satisfaction or the male view.
So when you hear that people have got a porn addiction, because you always hear about these addictions, like he's got a drug addiction, and porn always gets thrown in there. So what metric are you considered a porn addict? By what metric? Like how do they measure that?
I'm actually not sure about that. Maybe it's how many times you consume a day or how many hours you consume for. I'm not really sure.
So because that'd be interesting to find out. Like, you know, if somebody's, you know, like, you know, you asked me the other day, how often are you scrolling on social media? I was like, hey, that's a good question.
Well, the definition of addiction tends to be like, does it negatively impact your life? So that might be, is it causing you performance anxiety because, you know, the real life interaction isn't living up to what you're seeing on screen? Maybe those are what people might look at, and that's exactly what you're in. Financial.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing it at work, you're getting caught, inappropriate behaviour.
Geez, wouldn't it be interesting, like, far out.
But the sort of porn you're wanting to create, Layla, is sort of like divergent from the traditional airbrush, shiny, perfect people having perfect sex, which isn't perfect because no one really wants to have that kind of sex, right?
Oh my God, it's so true. Like, you know, I leave everything in as well. You know, I'm not going through and editing out the little moments where we might have a little conversation or like I might queef or something, you know. Like I just leave it all in because it's
What's a queef? What's a queef? Do you know what a queef is?
I do, and I'm gay, and I know
Queef,
what a queef is.
oh my
What
God. How
straight
do you
man
know?
do you call yourself?
I've got no idea what a quiff is. Is it a queef? I thought a quiff was a tie. Is it a queef?
Queef.
Yeah, what's a queef? Oh,
It's
that's
like
gross, is it?
when you fart out your vagina.
It's a
You
fanny
know,
fart.
like you make
Oh,
that
it's just
fart.
that's even, queef.
Some people love it, by the way.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, there's something for everyone.
Oh, my goodness.
But hey, it's natural and it happens, and like whatever. Who cares? Carry on.
Do you remember? I mean, you won't remember, and I don't.
Queef.
You like 70s porn. Like, you see the old magazines, and like the girls had pimples on their bums and stuff like that. Remember?
Yeah.
That'll do, David.
But it's true. And there has been a rise in this more amateur style pornography of like people, married couples at home, making their own videos, or it's not, high def cameras. It's like more real. And that's popular for a reason, which might explain a bit as to why you've become so popular, because you're creating the more realistic content.
So how I'm doing this is I'm just traveling around New Zealand and I'm creating a Google form, and I'm saying, hey, if you want to be part of this, apply. So, and I'm just traveling to certain cities and doing the deed with the dudes there.
So, hang on.
How do people
Hang on.
sign
hang
up?
on, hang on. David,
Sorry, keep
I
going.
thought you were gay. Okay?
Maybe not. No.
Okay.
What? Shut up.
No. So, how, see, for me, like, if I knew my wife was, okay, babe, how'd you go? And you're just going around and you're just going to have sex. Like, see, that would just...
Well, my husband comes with me, and he's there. He's helping fill out all the paperwork. He's checking the test results, and he's like helping film if we need it. So yeah, it's just
Okay.
like
Okay. So he's... Okay, perfect. Because, see, I just couldn't, I would have to be there all the time.
Yeah.
And
fair enough.
yeah. And like that would just rock my lid if wow.
Recently, there's been there's a UK porn star. I think she was like a TV personality, and she's gone on to do like sleep with like 1,200 men in one day or something like that. What's her name?
Oh.
Bonnie Blue
What?
or Lily Phillips.
Bonnie Blue. And I know about this because somebody wrote in the comments, what's Bonnie Blue doing on a podcast with Matthew Fridge?
Well,
They were saying that I looked
She's
like her. I'm like,
so famous.
yeah, so tell us about that. And
Bonnie Blue. G'day, Bonnie. Jesus
Well,
Christ.
so she obviously was doing OnlyFans, and there was a little bit of a rivalry between her and another woman called Lily Phillips, and I think Lily Phillips did fucking 100 guys in 24 hours, and then Bonnie Blue did fucking 1,000 in 12 hours.
Oh, can we not talk about this? This is just like...
But it's
like,
interesting.
who
that
the
it's-
hell
that
does
it's,
that?
It's almost like a bit of a phenomenon of the zeitgeist that this is happening, and it's like being reported in papers like the Daily Mail, and like it's mainstream stuff. And what's the fascination? Because
But yeah, what is
I'm interested
what's
in
the
value.
fascination? What's the fascination?
I think
with
it's just
that?
shock value, and they were trying to set records. So, they're trying to set a record that's going to go. It's going to be a record that they hold. And so I think it's a bit of a shock value that they're going for. And, that kind of marketing, that rage baiting and shock factor.
But even
is that to you? And this is a genuine question. Is that to you female empowerment, or is that exploitation? Like, how do you see that from
I think she's seen an opportunity to make some money with consenting males. These are people who have, they have signed up willingly to do this.
She's
seen a
It's
gap
just-
in the
that's
market,
just-
and she's been like, hey, I can make some money off of this.
Like,
Make some guys
imagine lining up behind hey, mate. Oh, how you going, mate? Oh, good, mate, good. What are you here for? I'm here to bang that bird. Oh, what number are you today? I'm in that 487. Oh, fucking bugger, mate. I'm in at 962. Like,
But to be the devil's advocate here, this woman is obviously like, these men have been fantasizing over this woman for so long. She is like an icon to them, and they get the opportunity to fuck her. And so they've taken up the opportunity. They've been like, hey, I want this, and they've gone for what they want. So
far out, man.
So your tour, how are you promoting it?
I'm promoting it on social media.
Yeah.
So I'll say, hey, I'm going to go to Christchurch. This is where I'm going to next. I've put a form up. People can apply to be involved. And there's a whole bunch of things that they need to do in order to be involved in the tour or be like selected. And yeah, then we go from there.
What's amazing for me is just Layla, and what a cool name. Like we called Lola in the end, but it was going to be between Layla and Lola. Anyway, I digress. But what's amazing, and I tip my hat to you and your husband, is that you've been together since you were 16 years old. You've been together 18 years. Can I ask a personal question?
Yeah.
Have you ever cheated?
No.
Okay. So how? But you also get to both explore the things you want to do and experience other people, but in an open, honest environment, right? Okay?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Which is pretty rare and pretty amazing, because some people open up their marriages, or and then things happen, and like it implodes or whatever, But for you guys, you've made it work. You've monetized it, which is amazing, and you sound like that you're both really close, that your family unit's close, and you're probably going to have some hiccups along the way, just like everybody else does.
Oh my gosh, that's relationships.
Yeah,
but love stories come in all shapes and forms, right?
Exactly.
And this is clearly your one and your version, and the reality is most people don't actually get a love story. So I'm happy for you.
It's pretty amazing.
Blessed. Like, my husband is an incredible man. He really is such an incredible man. And I just feel really blessed that we were able to meet each other so young in life. And I feel like we went through puberty together. And if we can do that, we can do anything.
Yeah.
And you've also experienced normalcy together. It's like that wasn't for you. So you can weigh up, well, this is better for us, our family, and us as individuals and as a married couple.
Yeah, and there's obviously pros. There's clearly pros and cons to everything, right? So, it's
we've taken huge risks, and I know that, and we both know that. Entering this line of work should not be taken lightly. And if people come and say to me, "Hey, I'm thinking about joining this industry. What do you think?" Well, I'm never going to recommend that people join this industry because it's a tough industry. It's not easy, and it's not just throw your link up online and people are just going to sign up and you're going to make heaps of money, because the reality of it is that a lot of people on OnlyFans are only making, less than $1,000 a month. Not everybody is going to be super successful. And in order to be successful, you do need to take big risks with this job. And, for me, that probably means that I'm never going to be able to go back, work at the bank if I want, I'm never going to have certain opportunities that I would have had beforehand. But myself and my husband were willing to take that risk because we could see the potential and the other benefits that this line of work offered us. And, that was what we were prepared to take on.
When you mention negative effects, I read an article somewhere, I think it was in the India Times or something like that, that you were denied a bank mortgage or something like that when you're going to buy a house.
India have just loved that story because so many of their reporters have reshared that story. But yes, when we were trying to buy the house that we're in right now, a bank in New Zealand would not even assess our application. They would not even look at it. They just saw that we were sex workers and they were just like, we're having nothing to do with that, which is blatant discrimination.
Yeah, but I guess...
Can they do that?
Yeah, of course they can.
Yeah,
of course they can. Hey, what's, in your experience, how long have you been doing this for now? Like, I know you did say, but was it 4 years? Yeah.
About 4 years.
So in your experience, what's the hardest thing that you and your husband have to deal with as a result of or while doing, while in your work?
The hardest thing
that you both find, or that there's a common ground there that you're like, that's whether it be emotional, physical, whatever, just the thing that whether it be people's judgments or what is the thing that that hurts you the most, or that that's I know that's a tough question.
I'm trying to think what would be the biggest thing. I think for us, it's really important that, you know, people that we meet face to face or people in our lives, you know, if they do read something online, or if they hear something through the grapevine, you know, that they feel confident and comfortable coming to us directly, because, you know, we're very open and honest people, and if people do have concerns or they are worrying or anything like that, we would, you know, it would upset us probably the most to know that our closest people are worrying and hurting and not coming to talk to us about it. So probably for us the most important thing is that people that are close to us, you know, do come to us immediately and have those hard conversations with us. We're happy to have those conversations, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the I sent the link to you, Layla, the interview we did with Madison Ashton, who's one of Australia's top sex workers. And in that interview, I'm interested to hear what you think. She mentioned that, you know, she earns a lot of money. You know, she pays a lot of tax. You know, she's a upstanding citizen in every respect. But she said, as a sex worker, she's a 10, right? Yeah. But in real life, society sees her as a 0. And that to me I found really sad, because there's a strong, bold woman doing what she wants to do, what she's done for a long time. She's supported her family, paid for her kids' private school education, all these things. And she comes across as so confident and so independent, and then to know deep down that part of her feels like she's a 0 in most people's eyes. That to me was really sad to hear. What's your reflection on that?
Good question.
Yeah, I agree somewhat that, you know, you're in this world and your fans and everything view a certain way, but society definitely does not view in the same lens whatsoever. And you do have to fight extra hard to stand up for yourself, because, you know, financial discrimination happens all the time. That's not the first time I've been discriminated against financially, but I do think that the world is making steps in the right direction. And in New Zealand, I feel like the stigma is starting to, you know, the view of it is starting to shift. We're definitely not where we need to be, but of the years and years of protesting and, you know, speaking on this and having people lead movements and stuff is leading us in the right direction. And I think we just need to keep pushing on through, because this new generation of people that are growing up right now, a lot of them do believe that sex work is real work. And, you know, I've met a lot of people that stand firmly and also will stick up for me in a room that I'm not in, you know. So I do feel like, things are moving in the right direction. But sadly, we are viewed in a different lens. Do
you think advocacy for that will define a lot of your future going forward?
Yeah, I think it will help, because, you know, as a sex worker standing up and saying, hey, I deserve respect and I deserve to be treated like everyone else, my voice is not given the same. Nobody cares about my voice as much as they care about, say, a straight man standing up and saying the same thing. So I think having allies is really important.
Yeah, but it's so obviously it's coming more out into the open now, sex work, you know, we were talking about it way more, and, you know, it is far more accepted. It's not as undercover as it used to be, but it's so prevalent in our society that we're kidding ourselves if we don't have these conversations, you know, and you know, but in some parts of the world, like even in France, it's illegal. Yeah. It's still illegal in France. It's illegal in America. It's nuts, you know, and yet I know I've said it before, but it's the oldest profession. So, how can, you know, we still, in general, as a worldwide society, be viewing this as there's something wrong with it?
And we know for a fact it goes in waves, right? It doesn't always have to be negative. Side note, I went to Pompeii last year, you know, the ruins of Pompeii in Italy, which is buried by Vesuvius. And I went and you can go through and you got these amazing tours, and one of the stops on the tours is a brothel. And you can look at, you know, it's amazing. And they have all the mosaics of all the acts you can request and pay for. And the guide was telling us that back then, the female, because they were both male and female sex workers, but the females used to put red ochre in their hair to make their hair really red and stand out. so that people in the street day to day would know that they were a sex worker, because it was seen as really
And that's why it's the red light district.
maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
But
like,
it was a respected position and profession.
yeah, it was a respected. It was like it was acceptable back then. Just like being a homosexual was, well, not that it's not acceptable now. Don't jump down my throat, everybody. But you know how it was undercover for so long. But yet back in those days, in the Roman times of that, hey, they were charging around like having sex with their mates and then having sex with the girls.
Yeah, I mean, gays and straights can be friends now. It's just like it's a revelation.
Can they? I didn't know that. Really, fucking wow.
So what is next? What is next for you, Layla, and the career? Like, are you empire building?
Yes, at the moment, I'm definitely.
Tell us about that.
Trying to build my empire. So, you know, my husband and I are being smart with our money. We're investing our money. We're looking at purchasing another business because obviously we don't want all our eggs in one basket. And this is also not the only business we've owned. We've owned businesses in the past as well. So, yeah, we know that this industry is not forever. But I still have longevity in this industry. You know, it's not like it's going to stop tomorrow.
No, exactly.
But, you know, we do need to make plans for the future, and we are in the process of doing that. So, it's exciting, and looking forward to what the future brings. And also, technology changes all the time. So it's keeping up with technology, because you just do not know what's going to be available to us in so many years' time.
Exactly.
Does your husband ever do interviews? Because I'd love to chat with him, with you both. Or is he a bit more stealth than you?
Well, we try to just keep him out of socials and online as much as possible, just so
that's smart. That's really smart.
So Dolly Parton did that with
No, because just imagine if you're both walking down the street, you know, like it'd just be a fucking goddamn nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, like
and if there's something really important that we need to attend and we don't want to cause a scene or something.
Yeah.
It does make it a little bit easier if one of us is not as widely known, you know.
That's a really good point, which is kind of, in a way, it's sad, but I think you're being really smart there. You know, you've got to judge the room and read the room, and I think you're onto it. So
say hi to him from us, even though we won't see him on our screen.
Yeah.
You know, full respect. Please
I
do.
will let him know.
Hey, but Layla, just like, I know it's not easy for you to come on a show like ours and to be so open and honest, and you know, we'd just like to thank you, because it's been a real eye opener for me, that's for sure. You know, and I'm sure for people listening, like, a lot of people find these conversations, you know, hard to have, and they maybe be cringing a little bit, or be a little bit judgmental or whatever. But I think you've just got to go in with an open heart and an open mind, and you've done that. And thanks.
Well, and hopefully after seeing you chat to Matthew Ridge and Bonnie Blue, they will feel a little less weirded out.
There's no way Bonnie Blue would be sitting next to me. Not a chance.
Oh my gosh!
If she was sitting next to me, there'd be a row of guys. Eh?
If you get Bonnie on your podcast, you're going to the moon. You know, like.
We've got you. Like, we're grateful enough for that.
Hey, but it'll be interesting to watch your I guess your trajectory, and it's neat that you're an advocate for for the sex work industry, and you're clearly beautiful, and you're articulate, and you come across really well. So, all the best for the future for you and your husband.
It'd be really cool to check in. When does the tour start and end? Like, because it'd be pretty cool to check in with you.
Started.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done Wellington and Palmerston already, and I'm off to Christchurch. I haven't set the date, but it will be within the next 6 weeks or so. And then after that will be Auckland. And so I'm just kind of voting on my Instagrams, and people can vote where I go to next. And
Are you going to Bluff? I don't know why I was there. Could be a bit rough.
Oh, mate, no. Bluff's awesome. Like, if you get to go to Bluff, Bluff's a cool little town, man.
Yeah,
is it a town, or is it it's really a village? I guess it's a town, but, mate, there's nothing better than Bluff. I love going to Bluff. Well, clearly for the oysters, but it's a cool spot.
I was going to say, definitely, if I can get some oysters down there, definitely.
Oh, man, there's nothing better than being down there, and if you get to go out on the boats, and then they just shuck the oysters for you. Me and Macca did that one year. Oh, my God, it was delicious.
Amazing.
I turned into an oyster.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for considering, to have me on your podcast.
It took 1 second as soon as you reached out. So thank you for messaging us. Cool.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm excited to see the content when it comes out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get it right to you.
All right.
Bye, Layla.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cool. See